Now I'm just going to add that red tint across the photos, and I did that by just creating a rectangle. And again, I'll just kind of snap that into place, and I can resize if I need to here. Okay, just snapping that into place, and I'll actually just choose this dark red. It seems appropriate, close enough for what I need today. And yeah, it's covering it up, but I can go in and deal with the opacity over here. You can see I can fluctuate that tint to be a stronger or weaker red. So I'm going to bring it down to about 40. And make sure that that also is set to responsive width and height. All right. Okay, so we'll just click away here. I'll go to my selection tool and click away. Save that. Do one last quick preview in the browser. And then we'll basically work on the construction of the page layout. So preview page in browser. And okay, and looking good there, I think. Yeah, and it's resizing proportionally as my fluid width layout stretches and shrinks. There you go. All right, so we're not going to deal with, we haven't even addressed breakpoints yet. We're just going to deal with content. Basically get all the content on your page in the one large breakpoint. Set it all up. Once everything's in place, then you go down to breakpoints. So breakpoints will basically be last here. But that's looking like what I want to do. Now the menu is going to be an issue, and I actually see a little white frame line around it and stuff, so there's some subtle things I'm going to want to change. Maybe I should deal with that right now. Let's do that. Let's address the menu. Let me go to my layers right now and show you everything's on one layer at this time. So let's go back to our master, and we actually will push a few things up to a new layer that we'll reserve for the menu. Now that menu only occurs down here at the smallest breakpoint. So you might as well skip to the smallest breakpoint here. And if I start with the menu, graphically speaking, I did not want to stroke around it here, so let me just select none for stroke. Go in here and just make sure stroke is off on everything here. Okay, I think it is. Now this background, maybe I'll change that. Black. Okay, actually I'll change it to the dark blue. There we go. That should be okay for now. Let me just check the states here. Okay, and for active, alright. Yeah, I do need to turn it off here as well. It was set to active. And looks like once I changed the normal state, they all became clear. So I finally got rid of that 1 pixel frame around the hamburger menu. It's actually one of our widgets here. And let's put that on a new layer. So we'll have to put that and a graphic on a new layer. So let's start by selecting that. We'll go to my layers. I'll create a new layer. I'll name it. I'll call it menu. Okay. You know what? I'm actually going to select the other element at the same time and select that other group as well, I believe, like this. And I'll do a cut, edit, cut, and then go to my menu layer. Okay, highlight the little checkbox in the menu layer. And go edit, paste in place. Alright, now I'm not sure if I got the accordion menu. It looks like I missed it for some reason, so I'll do it manually here. Now once that's done, you can actually, there might be even an easier way to do this. You can actually drag these. So let me just drag that up there. So 2 ways, cut, paste in place, or simply drag it within the layers. And actually that's a pretty nice way to do it. Okay, so that should avoid overlapping. But there's one thing I actually want to change, because I know when it scrolls, right now my graphic is just this little leaf, and I I actually have a graphic of this whole area done. So I'm going to replace this leaf, in fact. So, okay, so I'm just going to throw an image in here. Add image. And okay, menu JPEG, open. Okay, so that's in place now. I'm going to delete those because they're actually embedded in this graphic. I made an executive decision to do that whole thing in Photoshop. So let's give this a quick try actually. Preview site in browser. Okay, here it comes. And it seems to be covering everything, so that's perfect. There we go. So now my menu has been addressed, and we can get on with the content. And I can see my photos are looking fine here, and if I stretch it out, of course, they adjust in size. Okay, so again, we go back to that smaller size. I just want to make sure my menu was on a new layer, and that it would cover the content. So that should be good for the rest of the project, because the rest of the project will go on layer 1. Alright, so we can get out of the master now. And I'll go back to the home page. Get on layers and home page. Let's just make sure that we select layer 1 here. And that's where my content will go when I start to create it. Okay, so I will have to probably extend the footer as well. Let's drag this down a bit. And I'll put in some placeholder boxes for photos, rectangle frame tool. This can be for the title, which we'll create an SVG for. And this can be for the large photo. And again, let me just make a little room under that. And I'll put in a couple of text boxes. So I'll just grab the text tool here. And one to go with the title, and then one, actually it'll be 3 text boxes, one for the main blurb, and one for the sort of sign-off blurb, if you will. Alright, and they do snap. I can change these later if I want, but at least I have something in place as far as layout goes. And I'll just do a quick save here. And looking at the layout now, I'm actually going to change the background color. It's something I intended to do earlier. So let's just click on the background here. Go up to browser fill. And I had established some light blue colors in here. You can create a color by going to color chip. And it was a very light blue that I wanted. I don't want it to be on the greenish side though. I do want it to have more red in it. So we'll come up here into the royal blues and pick something reasonably light but dark enough that white text can be read on it. And I'll just choose that as a starting point. And we'll just click on there. And I actually do find that's a little strong. So I do have one I created earlier, which I'll select. Alright, so if you don't get it first try, just adjust your color chips or create new color chips. Alright, so there's my bluish background. And now I'm ready to grab some more photos and some text. So maybe we'll start with the text. I'm going to get you to go to the Loyalist College webpage and grab some text. So let's go over there right now. I happen to have it open, Firefox. And we'll just go in to find a program. That's loyalistcollege.com. Hopefully my connection's not too slow here. And let's just go into animation. And you're simply going to lift the copy off of the page here. So this will do in Photoshop, but let's grab this. Available as a 3-year term. Copy it. Go over to Muse. With that first text box. I'm just going to drop it in here and then I'll style it later. Okay, so I'm just going back and forth. This will be that main body of text. I'm just copying with my keyboard and using my keyboard to switch programs here. And the last little bit. right here, I just grab this line. Okay, copy that and paste that in there, and I'll save that. Okay, let's grab the photo on the right, and then we're going to jump into Photoshop to create our graphic for this title area. So let me just go up to Place, and go into my folder here, Third Year 01 PNG, and drop that in right there. All right, I will throw a drop shadow on there. So let's go up to Effects, Shadow, and I lowered the distance earlier and it retained that, but here are my settings right here, and I'm actually good with those settings. All right, so the photo, I'll select it, go up to Resize. It should be set to responsive width and height, and this one should be as well. They actually all should be. I'm just going to check my text boxes here. Responsive width for the text box. They don't do height, but they're all set to responsive. So these will adjust in size depending on the width of my browser. Let me just save this again. And we can jump into Photoshop very quickly to create our graphic here, and then we'll style all of our text and pin it down and get it all ready for this 1200 pixels breakpoint. Okay, there's just really one more element for this page, which is the title area, and I had said we're going to create an SVG graphic so that we can get that smooth transition when it gets larger and smaller, that it doesn't just jump. So let's bounce out to Photoshop and we'll create that element. So I do have Photoshop open here, and I actually do have the file partially done. I'd already typed it in. I just opened Photoshop, default size, transparent background. And with my text tool with all uppercase, I typed in animation, space, brackets, ANIM. And I used Helvetica New. You can use Helvetica Arial, something similar to that. And make it a fair size compared to the width of the page here. And once you have that into place, we actually have to convert that to a vector shape. So you can do that by going over to the layer and right-clicking and choose Convert to Shape. And at this point, all I have to do is export this as an SVG. So we go File, Export, Export As. And I have it set to SVG here. I click Export All, give it a name. I'll call it Animation _ title, and I'll call this 2 because I already have one here, I see. .svg, and click Export, and that should be good. And let's just go back to Muse now, and we can import that. So I'll just go up to File, Place, we'll look for that, Animation Title 2, there we go, Open, and I can just drop that into the picture box. I can go inside, make sure it highlights, click it, and there we go. Now if I wanted to adjust, see it's cutting off there, I can actually adjust the location of the embedded image in the box by double clicking it and moving it. I can also stretch it, resize it, distort it, rotate it, and so on within the area of the picture box. So the picture box is really, in a way, acting like a mask for this content. But I'm good with this here at this size, so let's just leave that there for now, and I can click away. And I think I'll style all my text now. I'll highlight it here. I'm going to center all of these elements, or this top one rather, sorry, not all of them. I'll choose the dark blue, and we'll go with a larger font. Now these are Arial, and that's what I'm going to go with here. And then I can just move that. The location will also be dictated by the breakpoints. So I'm just going to kind of group that up there with that guy. You know what, I'm going to pick a lighter version of that. And we'll go, I think, with, let me see what that looks like. Actually, I like that one. It's a little less contrasty. Alright, so we'll move this text box up here. Highlight the text inside of it. This I will make white and quite large. And maybe 28. There we go. You know what, I think I'll bring that back to 26. Alright. And then this bottom area, we'll highlight that. And we'll make that same medium blue. There we go. And I'll make that a little bit bigger as well. And that one also will be flush left in conjunction with that main text. Okay, so if I click away, now I can see my boxes aren't in alignment. I could bring in a grid, a guide. And I simply go into the ruler and I can click and drag and I can create a guide. So let's say I wanted to put it at the 50 pixel mark. I can grab all of these. I can either move them or enlarge and make the text boxes wider. And that way it'll change the flow of the text. It gives me a little bit more room here. Okay, let me save that. And we'll just have a quick look at that in the browser. View page in browser. And of course I'll have to make it big. You can see obviously at the smaller sizes it needs to be adjusted and dealt with. But once I get bigger here, you can see that it's pretty well placed. You can fine tune that all you want, but this is how it will appear in that bigger breakpoint and above. Once we get down to the other breakpoints, we will make some adjustments. But right now, the photos and the text boxes are adjusting. They are proportionally changing size, but the content of the text boxes is not, and that's where the issue really is with the text boxes. So we will make some breakpoints and change some of those, and we'll probably also change the location, the layout a little bit. So let's go back to Muse. Now one other thing I can actually do here, if I wanted to, is I can grab that footer and bring it in tighter. And I can adjust the footer independently as well between breakpoints. I'm just going to save this now. Now with respect to this bottom text, just from a graphic point of view, I'm going to see what that looks like centered. And I think I do prefer that. So it's almost everything is centered except for this main block. And I'll just save that. Okay, one more thing I want to add to this main photo is what's known as a tooltip, so that when I move my mouse over it, text will appear. And we'll also put in alt text. And the way we do that is we click on it, and I can right click, access its properties, edit image properties. And under Tooltip, I'm just going to say dedicated third year, get my typing skills up here, third year classroom. All our third year students do get their own private workstations in a dedicated large room. And alternate text, I'll just say working hard. So alternate text is meant for certain types of readers, but it also will apply if a photo hasn't downloaded yet. The alternate text will appear in its place. All right, working hard, and of course you knew that already. Click OK and save. So if I was to preview this and move my mouse over the photo, I should see that tooltip, and there it is, dedicated third year classroom. Okay. All right, so the next step is to make adjustments for the other browser width sizes.